Yes, the relay on YouTube. Check it out. Lots of stories about me on there. All the boxing facts and info that you want in a very entertaining, educational manner. The relay. Check it out on YouTube.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay where we're covering today's top boxing news.
What up, world? Seems like some things have been shaken up the last couple of days. And seems like I've had a pretty decent hand in that. So first I would like to apologize to my fiance, Rick Ramos, also my trainer and manager, because I know I've been stressing you out with all this ruckus. Seems like Matchroom has been offended by the conversation that was had yesterday on the Boxing Boys. Shout out to the Boxing Boys. And it seems like the overall conversation as a whole might have been misunderstood. But either way, my apologies for the conversation and for everyone being offended by the things that I said. Yeah, check me out on Instagram. Jessica.McCaskill. I'm at the gym right now because I have training and sparring to get ready for this fight. Check out the information on my page. You know what it is. September 23rd. Check out your girl.
Jessica McCaskill posted that apology, if you will, via her social media, and to many it seemed contrived and insincere. She followed that up by saying, "The statements I made about Matchroom and Eddie Hearn on The Boxing Voice August 16th of this year were 100% untrue. I apologize for my statements that were made. I am sorry and apologize for the mistake."
Know what the statements were? She voluntarily went on The Boxing Voice and chimed in on the Alicia Baumgartner situation, saying that she may have been sabotaged by her own promoter, by Matchroom, that is a distinct possibility.
Because according to Jessica, Alicia's contract with Matchroom was about to be up, though that still doesn't explain why they would hurt their own public image by sabotaging one of their own fighters, tampering with their anti-doping test. That's what led us all here.
A lot of people are angry about this. I saw the reactions in the comment section of my video, as well as the reactions on other social media platforms, many describing Jessica McCaskill as an ingrate.
Because of all the opportunities that Matchroom has afforded her, the kind of opportunities that many other major promotional outfits are not affording women boxers were afforded to her, as well as some commentator work, chances to get out there and make some cash, make some scratch.
People think she's ungrateful.
Those were the comments left under my video detailing the entire situation. Many people are angry about it. She seems less and less concerned with her working relationship, the ongoing relationship she has with Matchroom.
It's not the kind of thing you just come out and say.
It's quite defamatory, even as a suggestion, even if you're just bouncing ideas around. You have an ongoing relationship, a working relationship with these people that are promoting your next fight.
It was Boxing Beats and Rhymes, a fellow content creator here on YouTube, that suggested perhaps the reason that Jessica McCaskill was openly taking a shot at Eddie Hearn, openly taking a shot at Matchroom, is because she doesn't really want to fight Sandy Ryan.
Still can't wrap my mind around why she would have thought it at all a good idea to take a shot like that at Matchroom when she's still working with them. But according to Boxing Beats and Rhymes and a few others who I saw make the same suggestion, they think this is her way of getting out of the Sandy Ryan fight, that she doesn't really want it, and what this is self-sabotage.
That's their explanation.
That's how they reconcile it. The damaging effects that this could have to their working relationship moving forward that couldn't have been all that good to begin with if Jessica felt so inclined to say these kinds of things about Matchroom and Eddie Hearn.
The insincere apology.
Perhaps Team McCaskill feel underpaid or underappreciated, that the relationship, at least over time, wasn't that good to begin with, was on unsteady legs. Maybe that's what it was. Your guess is as good as mine, but one thing I know, if there wasn't already a rift between them, if there wasn't already a wedge between Matchroom and Team McCaskill, there's one there now, and I don't expect that they'll be doing her very many, if any, favors moving forward, not based on stuff like that.
Saying stuff like that.
Seems that the relationships between fighters, their managers, and their promoters, they seem to age like avocados.
Sometimes.
I just don't get the sense that moving forward, Team McCaskill and the people at Matchroom are going to be on good terms, because how could they be if you're suggesting they would sabotage their own fighter?
That tells me is you already don't think much of these people.
I was surprised by the whole thing. I thought their relationship was better, and if nothing else, I thought she'd have the foresight not to say something like that publicly.
Even if you don't like Eddie Hearn or Frank Smith and nobody at Matchroom,
You might still want to stay on their good side because you're still working with them. You just signed a contract.
it's supposed to be a multi-fight deal. Now I'm left wondering, what happens if Sandy Ryan wins? Will the people at Matchroom elect to cut Jessica McCaskill loose and let her go?
And if they do, where does she go?
What's she gonna do?
Anyway you slice it, it just wasn't wise to take a shot at them like that.
Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Ain't that what they say?
Men's welterweight and super middleweight news. It appears that Terence Crawford has changed his stance, and he is now willing to fight Canelo, rather, the winner of Canelo versus Charlo, at a full 168 pounds.
Where before he said he understands that weight classes exist for a reason and he's not interested in campaigning north of junior middle, he's changed his mind.
Now, Canelo Alvarez last competed at 160 in 2019 when he scored a unanimous decision win against Daniel Jacobs, and he's twice since even competed at 175 pounds, in between his 168-pound reign. In an interview with Joe Rogan, Crawford clarified that he'd entertain stepping up from 147 to 168 in order to face Alvarez. No, 168, yeah. I want to move up to super middleweight, yeah. If Alvarez beats Jermell Charlo on September 30th, yeah. Or Charlo, the winner. I want to be a 3-time undisputed champion, said Crawford. I know I want to fight Jermell, but if he loses to Canelo, I always say, man, that's a big step.
It's been a conversation the last couple of days. Say Jermell Charlo goes in there with Canelo, say he wins. There could be a second Alvarez fight, could be a 2-fight engagement. That's if he wins, but if he loses...
What are the odds he's gonna come back down? After having made all that money up there at super middleweight, what are the odds he's gonna kill himself to make 154 for Terence Crawford? I mean, he's saying he'd entertain the fight, he's saying he'd come back down, but people say a lot of things.
So Terence is nipping it in the bud. He's saying he wants the winner.
It's not about getting Jermell in the ring anymore, not just getting Jermell Charlo in the ring. No, he just wants the winner of this fight. He wants the chance to fight for all the belts, the chance to become a 3-time undisputed champion.
Can he do it?
I know I want to fight Jermell, but if he loses to Canelo, I always say, man, it's a big step. It's a big step. But for a person to go up 3 weight classes from 147 up to 168 and to win and to become undisputed, wow.
Sounds like it gets Terence Crawford's juices flowing, thinking about it.
Now, most people are going with Canelo Alvarez to win the Jermell Charlo fight on the premise that Jermell hasn't fought in over a year's time, that even though he has a height advantage and a reach advantage, the inactivity is going to hurt him, as well as carrying that much weight into a match. It'll slow him down.
And that there is a skills gap between them, a skills gap between Canelo and Jermell.
Canelo's better than anybody that Jermell Charlo has shared the ring with. He's a better caliber of fighter, by and large. So most people are going with Canelo to win the fight.
If he does, a Crawford versus Alvarez clash could be a possibility if both parties are serious around a slugfest at an agreed-upon weight.
Canelo Alvarez himself made it clear that he has no intention of moving back down.
I can't go down anymore. But you know, like he say, you know, when they ask him for the Germonta fight, they don't wanna get credit for that fight. It's the same for me. I don't need to take that fight because everybody's gonna say it's too small, and then, you know, he need to enjoy his fight. Okay, he deserve it. He deserve it. I like Spence, but you know, I like Spence and all the respect for him and everything. But I knew. I think is. The type of fight Terence Crawford is different. 168, but like I say, like he say, nobody's gonna give me credit for that.
Thank you very much.
They won't. There are enough people depriving him of credit for beating Jermell Charlo, even though he hasn't fought him yet, even though he hasn't beat him yet. He's being criticized for fighting that guy, at least in some circles. So what would people say if he fights Terence Crawford?
Stylistically, just based on the styles, I want to say that Terence has the more complex, complicated, and layered style of the two between himself and Canelo. But do Terence Crawford's stylistic advantages,
because he has them, what stylistic advantages he has, would that be enough to overcome Canelo's physical advantages? Because you're talking about jumping up 3 weight classes. That's what you're talking about.
that's crazy.
Both very accurate punchers, but Terence Crawford being able to fight out of both the orthodox and southpaw stances, being fleet of foot, more fleet of foot I'd say than Canelo Alvarez is. Canelo's more flat-footed than Terence, and it's a trade-off.
While he is more flat-footed, he draws his power from the ground up, so he can really sit on his punches and add power to them.
Do damage, more damage than anybody Terence Crawford has shared the ring with. He's more durable than anybody Terence Crawford has shared the ring with. I mean, in over 60 fights, Canelo Alvarez has never been knocked down or knocked out.
How do we know he doesn't walk right through Terence Crawford's punches? I mean, how do we know?
Terence may still have some unfinished business at 147, 154, I should say, with former unified champion Errol Spence Jr. Spence still has the right to call for a rematch, one that has not been officially made yet. Both Spence and Crawford have been open to fighting that rematch at 154 pounds, but Crawford will ultimately be in the driver's seat and call the shots. Which weight the clash potentially takes place in.
Still got that to consider. Before it even becomes about fighting Canelo or fighting Jermell, he might have to fight Errol again.
Since becoming a world champion, he's only went the distance a total of 3 times. Now, we heard today, Derrick James came out and he stated, well, yesterday, he came out and he stated the rematch is going to be different, and he believes that Errol is the better fighter all the way around, that Errol just had a bad night. And he's a better fighter, he's a better boxer, and that the rematch will be at 154, and everything is going to be different in this fight. And he guarantees that Errol will be victorious in the rematch. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts is, you know, I'm gonna put it out there before I would really want to say nothing about his style or anything, because I would just say we're gonna beat him, we're gonna beat him. You can't change that much. You can't really change that much. What more can he do different but try to overpower? But you know, of course, we gonna get stronger. You know, of course, we gonna you know, do what we need to do. We know what he gonna bring to the table, so I don't see much difference in the style and what he gonna be able to do. He's just giving me more time to go back in that bag, because there's a lot of stuff in that bag we didn't have to go in there. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I wish him the best. We welcome the challenge, so we get the same results.
So do you think the weight is going to, obviously they feel like the weight is going to improve, but how do the weight affect Bud, negative or positive?
Again, you know, same outcome, gonna get the same results. We welcome the challenge. Let's go.
Am I right when I say this, Bo, when I feel like Bud is going to be even stronger to add the 7 pounds? Because I think that people are not understanding that he's been at this weight class for 5 years and 8 fights himself. And 35, he'll be 36 next month.
Right.
I think that he'll be even stronger at 154. Am I right in my assessment of that?
We just got to see. We just got to see. Like I said, I don't think anything is going to change. You know, we welcome the challenge.
After the fight, Brian McIntyre said that he was expecting Spence to be more competitive against Terence Crawford. In truth, I think most people were expecting that. I didn't expect Terence to take control of the fight until around after 4, maybe 5 rounds. He took control of the fight in 2.
Just 2 rounds.
I thought it was going to be a little bit more competitive, admitted Bomac to 210 Boxing TV. Although things didn't play out the exact way he envisioned, Bomac revealed that he should have seen it coming. Since his amateur days, Bomac has been right by Terence Crawford's side. While their preparation has always been top tier, there was something different about Crawford this time around, truth be told. The only reason the future Hall of Famer was able to go out there and barely break a sweat is strictly due to the arduous work they put in behind the scenes. The way Bud prepared himself, the way his team got him together, that's what made it easy for him.
He's wanted this for 5 years, irrespective of what the Bullbirds were saying, and he showed the world how much he wanted it the night of.
He made it look easy, so easy there's almost no reason to do a second fight, no need for a rematch, though alas, Errol Spence Jr. has the right to one if he so chooses to exercise his rematch clause.
Putting any talks about fighting Canelo or fighting Jermell or fighting the winner of their fight on the back burner until such a time as Errol makes his decision, though the clock is ticking.
While Errol's supporters continue to make excuses, explain away the loss, Terrence Crawford is not bothered by those excuses for Spence. Every fight, there's an excuse.
Those most interested in seeing a second fight, seeing a rematch, are Errol Spence Jr.'s fans holding out hope that he can do better in a second fight.
If you can pull up the interviews I did in the past, I said, listen, once we fight, and when we fight, there will be a lot of excuses Crawford told Ebro Darden and Peter Rosenberg on Hot 97. They're going to say, oh, he's been at 147 too long. Oh, the accident. Oh, this and oh, that. I said, I'm prepared for that. I said, I'm not worried about any of those negative things because I'm so used to it, it doesn't bother me anymore. Every fight that I fight, there's an excuse. Either they're shaming the opponent or they're not giving me credit for my victory. I knew that it would come. That's the main reason to remove doubts and criticism. Why people were saying, fight Errol, fight Errol.
Only so that when he does, all this stuff they weren't worried about ahead of the fight suddenly becomes an issue after the fight.
Those most interested in seeing a second fight, seeing a rematch, are Errol's fans, not Terrence Crawford's. The Crawford fans are ready to move on, see him fight somebody else, maybe become a 4-division champion at 154.
Yeah.
I said, man, listen, I don't want to fight Errol coming off the accident of that magnitude, Crawford said. I want him to get back right, get back to 100%, and then I want to fight him at his best. That way, nobody can say anything. Errol Spence came back and he fought Danny Garcia in 2020, and he looked good. He didn't look 100%, but he looked good, though. I was there live at the fight, and I remember getting into it with a couple of his family members. He didn't look 100%. He didn't look great, and they were like, he's going to look great against you.
You.
Yeah, give him some more time. Let him get his feet wet. When he fought Ugas, he looked spectacular. He looked strong. He did what he had to do. Me and Ugas got a different style. After the Ugas fight, I was like, okay, now let's get this fight underway.
And Errol's fans were convinced. They were convinced that he was all the way back and nothing was wrong, and he was going to walk right through Terrence Crawford, only so they could make all these excuses afterwards.
Terrence continued, not only does it mean more for both of us because we were the only 2 champions at the weight and we're the top 2 welterweights in the division and everybody wants to see it, but now we can fight for all the marbles and undisputed. Everything played out. Can't nobody say, oh, the car accident, the eye injury, Crawford added. They can't use that. I'm pretty sure a lot of people were trying to use that, but you've got to look at the body of work after the car accident, after the eye injury. There were no excuses.
None that can be made, least of all by those who actually picked Errol to win.
The eye injury was when he was training to fight Pacquiao. He fought Ugas after the eye injury, and he fought Danny Garcia and Ugas after the car accident. The last little car accident last December that he got into, it wasn't no injury sustained in that car accident. I don't see why people will sit there and try to blame the accident for me beating him.
Because they don't want to be wrong. They've spent the last 5 years tearing Terrence Crawford down,
putting Errol Spence on a pedestal, and completely misreading this situation. Believe me when I tell you that if anybody wants to see a rematch, it's those people, the ones who picked Errol to win, holding out hope that it'll be different the second time out, kind of like how they thought
the third fight with Wilder and Fury would be different. They actually thought Wilder could pull it off.
Told you he couldn't. In their mind's eye, stubbornness is viewed as a virtue when it's a character flaw, not learning from your mistakes. So if what they want to see is Errol get pulverized into pink smoke,
bring it on.
If that's what it takes, because before it becomes about either Canelo or Jermell, we've got to see what Errol really wants to do. If he wants this rematch as bad as his fans do.